Let's continue this conversation talking a little bit about a former member of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Shout out to Drew O'Connor. Signs a multi-year deal with the Vancouver Canucks, wasting no time, similar to Marcus Pettersson, making sure that they feel secure and safe in their positioning with their new organizations. O'Connor signed a 2-year, $2.5 million contract extension yesterday. He's had himself a pretty good start in the city of Vancouver. 2 goals in 4 games played since the trade, not to mention scored a nice OT winner on a penalty shot. If I would have told you that Drew O'Connor was on a penalty shot in Pittsburgh, you'd probably say, well, I wish I could have picked at least one of 5 other players, but he went out there and did it in overtime for Vancouver against the San Jose Sharks before the Four Nations break. It helps that you're playing on the second line. It helps that you're playing with guys like Philip Hedl. Helps that you're playing with guys like Brock Besser, but Drew O'Connor has found a home in Vancouver. He's off to a great start, and you love nothing more than to see these guys who deserve it end up getting paid. O'Connor signs it 2 years, $2.5 million. And the best thing for him and for the Vancouver Canucks out of that is Drew O'Connor still has a lot of room to grow. It looked like he was kind of pushing his ceiling up a little bit last spring when he had 7 goals, 5 assists in that final 18 games played stretch. And he was playing a lot of time with Sidney Crosby, proving that he can, at least for a short period of time, hold his own next to superstar talent. But he just fell back down to reality this year. He went through that long goalless drought. And that's why I think the Penguins were looking at it as, well, we'd like to re-sign him, but if we get any good value, we have to move on from him because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. Well, lo and behold, that turned into him being included in a trade and a first rounder coming back in favor of him and Marcus Pettersson. And when that happens, you got to pull the trigger. If you're Kyle Dubas and the Pittsburgh Penguins, they did. They get a first. It worked out for all sides because the Penguins get what they needed. The Vancouver Canucks get 2 players that are going to be part of their short-term and, in Marcus Pettersson's case, long-term plans on that team. And it was kind of a perfect Jim Rutherford trade because Jim Rutherford always said he likes to make trades fair. And it seems like that's exactly what happened between the Penguins and the Canucks before the Four Nations face-off. And like I mentioned, it's been working really well for the Vancouver Canucks. They are 3-0-1 since that trade went down on February 1st, which has launched them up into a playoff spot, sitting currently as wild card 2 in the West. So shout out to Marcus Pettersson, who we talked about a couple weeks ago. He signed that 6-year extension in Vancouver. Now shout out to Drew O'Connor, a guy who was an undrafted college signing, came to Pittsburgh, was one of the few young players over the last 5 years to be able to break through and gain the trust of Mike Sullivan. Got opportunity after opportunity, started in the bottom 6, worked his way up to where last year he was playing on the first line with Sidney Crosby. He was the Penguins' filler for Jake Gensel being traded away, and he played well and narrowly bringing the Penguins, or helping bring the Penguins, I should say, back into the playoffs. And now looks like he's thriving in Vancouver. We'll see what happens over time, but he has himself a new home and he has himself a shiny new contract.